Hey, good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. I'm back out on the training ground today. I had high hopes of filming a good shelter video and a pack review for you guys, but honestly, the wind's blowing about 30 miles an hour out here. And I don't know about y'all, but I don't really like watching videos with a lot of wind noise. So I think I'm going to punt on that idea. But while I'm out here, it's a great opportunity to practice shooting in the wind. So I've got my Wiser Precision Quik Stix system with me attached to my trekking poles. So I'm going to go ahead and get that set up, and then I'm going to practice doing some shooting. Yeah, there goes. So yeah, like I was saying, I'm going to go ahead and get set up. We'll do some shooting here in the wind and see how I do with the practical bush rifle. Okay, guys. So I'm set up to shoot on the rifle range here out of my training area. In the center of the target there, or center of the screen rather, you can see a white target. That's a 2/3 IPSC silhouette. So it's 12 inches wide by 24 inches tall, if I remember right. No, 12 inches wide by 20 inches tall. And so it's a steel target. And I'm just going to initially start shooting on that one. I've got other targets that are further out, but I figure if I struggle to hit this one, there's no sense wasting the ammo on farther targets. And so shooting in the wind is it's part science and it's part art. Oops, bumped the camera there. All right. What you got to do is visualize yourself. Imagine we're at the center of a clock, okay? And we're at the very middle of the clock, and whatever direction our target is 12 o'clock, okay? So the white target is 12 o'clock. 90 degrees to our right would be 3 o'clock. 90 degrees to our left would be 9 o'clock. And 180 degrees to our rear would be 6 o'clock, okay? And so the direction that the wind is coming from, imagine, is like a clock face. And so the wind on this target right now is roughly, I'm going to go out about 100 yards and see if you guys can see what you can kind of see the grasses and sagebrush there. And if you can't tell, the wind is coming from right to left at about 1 to 2 o'clock. All right. Now the terrain, of course, is going to funnel and make that wind flow and do different things. You know, I've been up on this range when we've had a tailwind coming from behind, and it might be blowing straight from the rear, but as soon as it hits those hills, it curves, 90 degrees to the right, and targets that are further up in the hill, they might have a full side wind, where down here we've got a tailwind. And so what I like to do, what I teach shooters to do, is to just take what I call a half distance wind. So just kind of look at the grass and the vegetation and see what kind of effects the wind's having at half the distance to the target. And so at about 100 yards, like I said, it's coming from about 2 o'clock. So I'm going to go ahead and call that about a half value wind. Okay. A full value wind would be like 90 degrees to our sides coming straight across. So I'm going to call this a half value wind, because when you're making wind calls, it always helps to kind of round up, so to speak. So is it precisely a half value? Not quite, but I'm going to go ahead and just say it's a half value wind, because usually if you make a slightly larger adjustment with wind calls, it seems to work out. Okay. So the next thing I do is, now that I know the kind of the direction the wind's coming from, I need to gauge the speed. And this is part of the art form. Of course, you can carry a wind meter with, but that is only going to give you the wind speed at your location. Okay. And I think those electronic tools are great training aids, but I wouldn't want to rely on one 100%. And we're not talking about extreme long range shooting here. We're talking about practical field shooting. So I don't really need to get, super precise on this stuff. And by, I've carried one with me for a long time and practiced with it, and I would just come out on different days and, try and guesstimate what the wind is. So this is a full, this is all of a 20 mile an hour to 25 mile an hour wind, okay, that we have right now. And like a little bit ago when it knocked the camera over, that was probably gusting to 35. So I'm going to go ahead and call it a 20 for now. And what I do, I carry little cards with me. Hold it up for you guys. And depending on the optic, if I have a good, like the ACSS optics, a lot of those have wind holds in them. So I'll use that. If I have a milling reticle, I'll use different milling points to hold off. Now this particular scope that I'm using today is the Hilux Scout scope, and it just has kind of a standard duplex with a BDC. There's no wind holds or anything like that. But what I have is ballistic data on this card that gives me how far the bullet's going to move in inches on a 10 mile an hour full value wind. So our target's at 200 yards. For a 10 mile an hour full value wind, it's going to move 4 inches. Now, I said half value, so you can half that value. So we would say 2 inches, but I also said a 20 mile an hour wind, which is double what I have here, so I can double it again. So now we're talking about 4 inches again, okay? So what I can do now is, because I know that's a 12 by 20 inch target, I know I need to aim 4 inches into the wind on that target. Now, I'm not going to be able to measure exactly 4 inches, so what I'll probably do is just hold on the right edge of the target and see what that does. So I'm going to go ahead and get you guys centered in here. Then I'm going to get on the gun. The ammo I'm shooting today is the Hornady Black 123 grain match ELD. It shoots okay out of this rifle. It's not the best. It's not the best ammo I've shot out of this rifle, though, but it should work for what we're doing today. So when you're shooting off of a tripod or shooting sticks, you want to get as much slack out of the system as you can. Now, I've already done, before I started filming, I did my pre-combat rifle check. Right now I'm just centering up on the target, getting my natural point of aim. Okay, that was a hit, if you couldn't tell. It was pretty much dead center, and when the rifle went off, I wasn't holding exactly on the right edge. I brought it in a little because the wind actually kind of had died down just a little bit compared to what I was seeing when I told you I was going to hold on the right edge. So I'll go ahead and send another. Okay, so my next target, there's that 200-yard target. The next one's camouflaged. You guys will not be able to see it, most likely. It's up in this little cluster of trees, and it's pretty much right at 300 yards. So I think what I'll do instead of having you guys just stare at a bush, I'm gonna go ahead and have you watch me shoot, so you can kind of see the little adjustments and so on that I'm making. So what's interesting is I was on 2 power for all that shooting on the last target. What you can do is, if you need a little extra support, you can use your pack to kind of come up under your support or your firing side, and that works very well. So once again, First thing I'm going to do is get my natural point of aim. Scoot these back a little so I can put a little more tension into them. Yep, and that one went right off the left edge. So I probably wasn't holding quite enough for wind. There we go. So that one was a hit. They loved it. Sorry, dad jokes. That one was a miss. Bad part about, sitting up like this, of course, I'm more exposed to the wind. And so right now it's really whipping, kind of buffeting me around. Yeah, I can't quite take a shot right now because that wind is really rocking me around. Thought that would have been a good one. Probably wasn't holding enough for wind though. That's how it is with the wind sometimes. You have to be a little bit patient and wait for the right conditions. And right now the wind's kicking up. I'm just going to be a little patient. Wait for it to die down for a second. There we go. Kind of snuck it in there in between gusts. You're just kind of trying to maintain your sight picture and sight alignment until the wind conditions seem favorable. So right now they're kicking up. So I'm going to hold on my shot. Just pretty much have the vertical crosshair basically right on the right edge of the target. Oh, I snuck that one in just in time. So, shooting in the wind's tricky. You're not going to nail every shot. But by kind of applying some pseudoscience, like I said, it's part art, part science. You got to feel that wind out. And I think a big part of it is you just got to get out and shoot in the wind, and you kind of learn what things look like, what they feel like. You can begin to estimate the speed of the wind based off how your vegetation is acting versus needing a special wind meter and everything else. Not that those things don't have their place, don't get me wrong. Every tool that you can utilize, of course, use it, but you shouldn't rely on them either. You need to develop that skill. Okay, guys, so did a little shooting, and I think You know, the results speak for themselves there. Missed a few rounds, but majority of them were hits. I don't need to sit here and, you know, burn up a bunch of ammo. I'm going to go ahead and get my brass policed up. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hike up into this. This is out on my training ground, and I'm going to hike up to where I was going to shoot that shelter video, which is actually at my alternate shelter site for when I teach classes. You know, my primary site was down there, which on a day like today, it works. You know, it would work fine for shelter location, but for those classes that it would get really snowy and rainy, I liked something with a little more cover. And so I'm in those trees. I've got another site, and I think what I'm going to do is just hike up there and see, you know, see what the conditions are like. It's pretty windy right now, but maybe when we get up in there in the trees, maybe it won't be so bad, and I can still shoot this shelter video. Okay, guys, so I made it up to the alternate shelter site where I was planning on shooting the video, and I think it's going to work out. You know, it's a good shelter site. I picked it for a reason, and it blocks the wind pretty well. So I'm going to go ahead and drop my pack and start getting set up. And I'm going to make the actual shelter setup into a separate video. I think I've filmed enough for one video, and I'm going to go ahead and do the shelter stuff in a separate video. So thanks for watching.